A warm welcome to TV Africa News and thank you for always joining us. This is Africa Today. My name is Najuma Rima, but first are the headlines. MPs want schools reopened to save children from sexual violence. Leaders petition Museveni as 50,000 locals face eviction over Katanga land dispute. Democratic Republic of Congo's opposition protests electoral reforms. And in sports club Villa hires Greek coach. A warm welcome once again. Now the news in detail. According to the Ministry of Health, 25% of Ugandan teenagers become pregnant by the age of 18 and close to half are married off before 18 years. The Uganda Police Annual Crime Report 2020 indicates that 14,134 cases of defilement were reported compared to 13,613 reported in 2019, revealing a 4% increase. We have more. Out of these, 4,442 cases of defilement were reported between January and April 2020 alone. 310 were defiled by persons living with HIV and 120 by their parents. The National Survey on the Situation and Impact of COVID-19 on School-Going Girls and Young Women in Uganda by FAWE Uganda revealed a 22.5% increase in pregnancy among girls aged 10 to 24 seeking antenatal care in the first 3 months of the lockdown. The dialogue focused on sharing empirical evidence of the study conducted by FAWE Uganda and partners on the situation of and impact of COVID-19 pandemic on school-going girls and young women in Uganda, facilitate utilization of research findings in decision-making and policy development processes. Susan Opok Tumusime, the Executive Director of FAWE Uganda, called upon parents and families to protect their children, provide basic needs, including food, shelter, and sanitary towels to shield them from wrong elements. Betty Awol Ochan, the former leader of opposition in Parliament, expressed the urgent need by the government to prioritize vaccination of Ugandans across the country. She decried increasing cases of sexual violence across the country, with over 17,000 cases of teenage pregnancy reported in northern Uganda by another study. Sarah Opendi, the former State Minister for Health, thanked government for passing the school re-entry policy, enabling child mothers and other vulnerable girls return to school. She called for the urgent reopening of schools to save children from the ongoing abuse. Local leaders in Katanga near Wandegeya in Kawempe Division have petitioned President Museveni to intervene in the impending eviction of over 50,000 locals from their land by Makerere University. The group alleges that despite court decisions and directives, Makerere University has on several occasions disregarded the same in a bid to unlawfully evict them from the said land in Katanga. Narugo reports.
Makerere University last month wrote to the group saying it had acquired the land located on Block 38, commonly referred to as Lower Katanga, and that it was ready to embark on developing the land, and this consequently meant that occupants on the land would be evicted and consequently livelihoods of the locals would be at stake. However, in a September 11th petition signed by the area leaders led by Kawempe Division Councillor for Wandegeya Ward, Thomas Bagonza, Makerere University administration has been accused of using extrajudicial means to evict them from their bibanjas. The area has got 6,400 households and 50,000 people, including women, youth and children, the majority being offsprings of persons who settled in the area way back in the late 1950s. The petitioners say majority of the occupants have structures that pay property rate taxes to KCCA. Makerere University appealed against the decision, faulting the High Court in a matter that is currently pending hearing and determination before the Court of Appeal. The locals and their leaders insist that in total disregard to the courts of law, the university asked the KCCA Deputy Executive Director to cause removal of structures of residents and stop any further developments on plots 45 and 47 at Lower Katanga.
Moving on, the State Minister for Foreign Affairs in charge of international cooperation, Honorable Okedo Odiem, has today commenced the Uganda-India Investment Road Ceremony under the theme Fostering Closer Collaborations for Mutual Benefits, aimed at fostering closer relations with business communities of the two states. Kachanchi has more.
While addressing the invited congregation today, the 16th September 2021 at the Foreign Affairs Ministry, the Honorable Minister said that Uganda and India enjoy warm bilateral relations with several areas of historical cultural linkages with extensive economic and trade interest, which is expected at $1.3 billion. The minister said that India has consistently remained one of the top investors, with exports from India reaching $1.2 billion and has been offering capacity building programs to institutions through its cultural exchange program hinged on mutual cooperation and respect. The Honorable Minister added that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Uganda is prioritizing commercial and economic diplomacy in its work and believes that this new focus will lead to socio-economic transformation of the country and deepen its relations with India. The Honorable Minister further indicated that despite the COVID-19 pandemic, Uganda has resolved to rise above the negative impacts that have emerged, building a modern people-centered, independent, integrated, resilient, and sustainable economy focused on industrialization as guided by the National Development Plan.
Let's take a very quick short break. We will be right back. Police in the Democratic Republic of Congo on Wednesday baffled a demonstration organized by the opposition parties in Kinshasa. The protest was organized by the Lamuka opposition party, who were calling for fairness and equal representation in the National Electoral Commission.
According to one of the protesters, they are demanding the depoliticization of the Independent National Electoral Commission and the consensus around electoral reforms. The protesters believe that the Sacred Union platform of political forces acquired by Tshisekedi, which is the current majority in power, wants to execute its plan of electoral conquest 2023. The opposition accused the National Police of brutality repression towards a peaceful protest after 8 people were arrested. The reform of the Electoral Commission was voted on by the National Assembly in June, but the opposition is seeking a fair representation in the structure of the Electoral Commission. Adolphe Muzito, opposition member, said that it's a pity for this power, which is driven by people who had fought for many years to have this state of law, adding that it's a pity that they could receive from Mr. Tshisekedi and his friends such operation. The opposition leader, Martin Fayulu, recently denounced the recent move by the parliament, led by Tshisekedi's party, to initiate a new electoral system, further warning that this will lead to fraud in the 2023 elections. The United Nations representative in the country, Bintu Keita, on the other hand, hopes the law will strengthen the Commission's depoliticization, independence and transparency of the electoral process.
The UN will withdraw Gabon's 450-strong peacekeepers contingent from the Central African Republic over sexual abuse allegations, a scourge that has long tarnished UN interventions, according to Gabonese Defense Ministry. A statement released by the ministry said that in recent weeks, exceptionally serious acts that go against military ethics and the honor of the armed forces committed by certain elements in the Gabonese battalions have been reported. The statement added that following many cases of alleged sexual exploitation and abuse that are being processed, the United Nations today decided to withdraw the Gabonese contingent from MINUSCA, the UN mission in the Central African Republic, and an investigation has been opened by Gabon. One of the world's poorest countries, a Central African Republic, has been chronically unstable since it gained independence from France in 1960. The former French colony is currently suffering from the aftermath of a brutal civil conflict that erupted in 2013 after a coup against the then President Francois Bozize. MINUSCA was deployed by the UN in April 2014 to try to end the conflict, pitting the Seleka coalition of armed groups that overthrew Bozize against militias supporting him. The conflict has dramatically reduced in intensity, but MINUSCA still has 15,000 personnel in the country, of whom 14,000 are in uniform. Away from that, Central African musical artists are now opting for a change through new musical sounds. A musical event was organized in Bangui recently by a famous Central African artist by the name Idile Mamba, who is advocating for traditional musical instruments to transmit ancestral messages.
According to Vincent Mambachaka, the artistic director, the scene of this event was also to promote some of the instruments best derived from the tree trunks, roots, and modern instruments in order to bring the forgotten tradition towards modernity. Vincent Mambachaka said that they are trying to create in a way that will show the Central African Republic in different ways, which is really a work of creation, research, documentation, safeguarding, and valorization of heritage. The musical sound here, it's not just coincidence. These local groups chosen by the Mamba and organizers of this show come from a region known as Hippie, located in the northeast of the Central African Republic, the cradle of the country's traditional history. These traditional sounds were particularly different from the usual music played at the current time. The group Roots and Rhymes has been selected to perform at the Théâtre de la Ville du Paris to the Champs-Élysées on 9th September as part of the Africa 2020 season initiated by the President of the French Republic, Emmanuel Macron.
Moving on, the 4-day series of talks intending to pave a return to civilian rule in Guinea after coup entered its second day, with the parties involved seeking to reach a memorandum on the way forward. Some of the leaders who have already met the junta, including religious leaders who met Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya in Conakry on September 14, 2021, are the People's Palace. We have more on this report.
Coup leader Lieutenant Colonel Mamadi Doumbouya told attendees the coup was the result of the failure of the entire political and military class, according to Sidia Touré, a former prime minister who was at the meeting. Opposition party leaders who came to the heavily guarded People's Palace for the meeting, however, publicly backed the coup and laid more criticism on ousted President Alpha Conde. Osman Kaba, leader of the opposition party of Democrats for Hope, called that bid by Conde to stay in power beyond his mandate a coup as well. The junta, which has come under intense diplomatic pressure since seizing power on September 5th from President Alpha Conde, later held talks with religious leaders. It will then meet civil society figures, diplomats, trade unionists, and mining executives through to Friday.
Let's once again take a very quick short break. We will be right back. still watching TV Africa News, the right to know. In our business news today, Burundi last week launched a modernization project to the port of Bujumbura in a bid to boost efficiency to its operations. The project will be financed and implemented by Japan, and it is estimated to cost about $31 million.
Burundi President Evariste Ndayishimiye said that this project comes at the right time because Burundi is in the process of developing trade relations with countries in the region. The port has never been modernized since its construction in 1950. A lot of work is planned to bring it up to the standard. Jackie Bigirimana, the Director General of the Maritime Authority, said that there is dredging of the port basin, adding that there is the dredging of the port basin, you understand? That the big boats and the big ships will be able to dock with their weight without any problem. She said that at that level, they will have reached the required level so that such boats can navigate without problems and dock without any difficulties. According to official data, this port, which in 2020 handled more than 200,000 tons, will exceed 500,000 tons. The port of Bujumbura is one of the main entry ports on Lake Tanganyika, along with the port of Kalemie in the Democratic Republic of Congo, Kigoma in Tanzania, and Mpulungu in Zambia.
In our health news today, Cabinet has okayed the planned mandatory COVID-19 test for all international travelers entering Uganda. The ICT and National Guidance Minister, Dr. Chris Baryomunsi, told journalists on Wednesday that it was agreed that all travelers entering the borders, including Entebbe International Airport, would undergo a mandatory sample removal for testing COVID.
A few weeks ago, an interministerial meeting chaired by the Prime Minister, Robinah Nabbanja, resolved that the move is halted for a period of 2 weeks as consultations over the same continue. Whereas at first the move would see travelers pay $65, the minister said this has however been reduced to $30. The minister explained that the arrangement to shift from private laboratories to the government facilities will be done within 1 week and that a similar arrangement is being done at all the country's entry points. Following the announcement of the move for mandatory testing of all travelers, there was an outrage sparked, especially among frequent travelers and tour operators. However, according to the minister, there will be a special arrangement for tourists. Baryomunsi said that passengers with tourist visas will have their samples taken, but will be permitted to proceed to their respective hotels as they wait for results.
In our sports news today, despite the unsolved leadership wars, Uganda's most successful football club, SC Villa, continues to prepare their technical and playing dockets prior to the Virgin upcoming season. The Jogos have signed a number of players and also hired Petros Kokoras from Greece as their head coach ahead of the kickoff for the 2021-2022 season for the next 3 years. Kachanchi has more on this report.
Kokrus is expected to arrive in the country at Entebbe International Airport from Thessaloniki City, Greece on Thursday 16th September 2021 aboard Turkish Airlines on flight TK606. The UEFA A Diplomat qualified coach is also a member of the FA licensed coaches club and holds a master's degree in strength and conditioning. Kokrus is expected to take over the head coach slot from Edward Kaziba, who had been at the club for the previous 2 seasons. He graduated from the University of Greenwich with a bachelor's in sports science from 2016 to 2019 and later a master's in strength and conditioning in 2011 to 2012. He has previously handled several teams as Apollon Calamarias, Destiny Youth Football Club in Guangdong, China, Real Madrid Foundation Clinics, Pacific Heroes, and lately South Sudan national team. The Greek joins the long list of foreign coaches to handle Sports Club Villa as Englishman Geoff Hudson, Serbia's Milutin Michos Rejovic, Savian Sivonov Sirajan, and lately Antonio Flores from Spain. For starters, Sports Club Villa has won 16 Uganda Premier League titles, 9 Uganda Cups, and 3 Sekafa Kagame Cup trophies.
Now, before we end our news bulletin today, let's take a recap of our top stories. MPs want schools reopened to save children from sexual violence. Leaders petition Museveni as 50,000 locals face eviction over Katanga land dispute. Democratic Republic of Congo's opposition protests electoral reforms. And in sports, Sports Club Villa hires Greek coach. That was the news. Thank you for always keeping it TV Africa. Please do stay tuned.